Hi, and welcome back to our course on building a LAMP server on EC2. In this class, we'll begin discussing security, and in particular, how to secure user accounts. If your setup is like mine, then you logged into your EC2 instance without any need for a password. It may have crossed your mind that that's a little odd, and what's to stop anybody else from logging into the same instance and corrupting and taking control of your data? The answer, as you might well know, is that when you were setting up your instance on the Amazon dashboard, you created a key pair. You took the public key and copied it to the computer from which you're accessing your instance, and then when you issued the command using SSH to log into this instance, you also directed the SSH facility to the location of the public key. When the Ubuntu on EC2 got the request to log in from your computer, it looked at the public key, it recognized you as a friendly and reliable source, and let you in. That's fine. It's not perfect. When it comes to network computers, there's no such thing as perfect security, but it's good enough for our purposes. Now, however, you're probably going to take this instance and interface with other computers on the internet. Somewhere along the line, you're bound to come across a hacker who's got nefarious goals. He's going to want to get into your system, take over your user account, and use your computing resources for his good. What's to stop him? If you don't have any passwords associated with your user account, the user account you started with, if you're starting off like me, is Ubuntu, and there's nothing stopping my Ubuntu from performing any function that he likes on this computer. Well, if there's nothing stopping him, there's no password by which we're forced to identify that I am who I claim to be, then anybody can take over with a minimal amount of effort. Anybody could take over this account and do whatever he likes with it. It's therefore very, very important that you give Ubuntu a password. Or even better, that you create a new user account with some different name, or multiple user accounts if you have multiple people, colleagues, who are accessing this instance along with you, and assign each of them proper high-level passwords. It's the responsibility of the administrator, and that's you, to properly secure the accounts that you're going to be using. Now, just a little bit of background. For our purposes, Ubuntu has two different types of accounts. There's a regular user account who is able to do anything with any data in his user directories, has complete control over them. However, there's nothing much that this user can do on the system itself. There's a second type of user, the administration user. Using sudo, if he prefixes any command with the word sudo, S-U-D-O, he will then be able to edit any file on the system, be able to perform or initiate any function in the system, be in complete control. Naturally, on a normal system, every time a user invokes sudo and then a command, he will be asked for his password, and he'll be allowed in. Let's create a new user. Let's type sudo, add user, and say Mike. Now, you'll notice we weren't asked for a password because I'm still using the original passwordless Ubuntu user, something we're going to change now. First, though, we'll create a password for Mike. We'll type it in again to make sure it actually works. We'll have the option of typing in full names and locations and phone numbers for Mike. We don't really care right now, especially since Mike doesn't even exist. And we will finish the process. Mike now is a fully qualified user on this system, but he's not an administrative user. How do we give him administration rights? By editing the group file. Actually, there are a number of ways you could do this. I prefer to edit the group file. So let's type sudo, because again, we have to be administration to do this, nano, which is the text manipulation program, and we'll point it to the group file in the etc, the etc directory. This is a list of all the groups that are registered on the system right now. We'll scroll down until we get to the sudo group, which is here. We will move to the end of that line. Ubuntu is actually already a member of the sudo group. That's the user we're using right now. We'll add a comma. We will not put a space after the comma, and we'll immediately write in Mike. So Mike has now been added to the sudo group. Let's hit Control X and then Y to save this, and the group file has now been changed. Let's experiment to make sure this actually worked. Let's SU, which means switch user, to Mike. Now we have to put in Mike's new password. And we are now Mike. Let's see if Mike can edit the group file using his sudo powers. So we type sudo nano etc group, enter Mike's new password, and we're in. We are able to edit system files, which means Mike now has the power of administration. If, by the way, you're not so friendly with Mike as you once were and you want to get rid of him, well, you wouldn't be able to do that as Mike. Rather, exit the shell that you were operating in under Mike's account, and you're back to the Ubuntu account, and type sudo del user, which stands for delete user, and Mike. Again, if you were a normal account with a password, then Ubuntu would be asked for its password before being allowed to perform this function. And once you'd hit enter, we'd remove Mike. Mike would be gone from the system. But we're not going to do that right now. How would you add a password for Ubuntu? You don't have to create a new user using add user. You just want to add a password so that every time Ubuntu wants to access a sudo administrative function, he'll first have to enter this password. That is done using the command passwd, not password. For some reason it's passwd without the OR. You type passwd, you hit enter, and you're asked to enter a new password. Then you'll be asked to confirm it a second time, and from that point on, Ubuntu will have his own password also. In this class, we learned how to add users and how to add passwords to user accounts, and how to add a user to the sudo group through the etc/group file to ensure as much as possible that your user and only your user will have access to the administrative functions that make this instance work. We hope to see you again next time.